Hello, hello, and welcome back to Soul Star Radio. This is Jacquelene Closemore. I'm live and amazingly on the internet. We've been having lots of fun this morning with that, and my cat is keeping me company. But also, more importantly, guess what I got in the mail? Journey of a Lightworker. It's I'm really excited about this. It's a collection of personal stories from lightworkers around the world. Guess what? I'm in this. So I'm feeling rather excited about that. And I'm actually even mentioned on the back cover, and there's the wonderful Raul Estevez also mentioned. And I'm so excited. I'm having trouble with my internet connection. That's what it is. And I've been causing the producer this morning lots and lots of possible grey hairs, new editions of them. But in any case, I'm rather excited. I'm going to be reading this book. I'm going to be interviewing people out of this book as long as they actually take my call, I guess. And I'm going to be speaking to the publisher, who is a wonderful lady, Christy Lyons, who's running this wonderful new publication company for all sorts of wonderful books that I'm looking forward to connecting in with and seeing more about. So really exciting little chapter, literally, because I wrote a chapter in the book. Oh, sorry, bad joke. And it's a step closer to me actually putting out my books with an S. It's always a thing. People go, I'm writing a book. Oh, yeah. How long have you been doing that for? About a decade now. I think mine's been about 2 decades. But what it's been is I started out actually dyslexic. And I remember in primary school, my mother got me one of those wonderful speak and spell machines. And it used to say, spell, because it would have this accent and then this funny blah at the end of it. And so you not only had to be able to hear what they were saying, you had to actually decode it. So it was handy that I was also a psychic and a dyslexic. So then I could actually read into what I thought they were trying to say, get used to the accent and get much better at understanding people with, different ways of speaking. And then once I figured out what word they wanted me to spell out and tap, 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 incorrect. And then you'd sort of, okay, we got one more go. All right. That is correct. Now spell. And so my mother had all these amazing modules of this, and it went on like that for quite some time. So it's been quite an interesting journey with dealing with speak and spell and other things like that and getting to the point of actually writing a book. So it's going to be very interesting doing this, and I'm looking forward to taking some calls today with you. And so do feel free to call in, and hopefully my internet connection will behave itself. And I think I'm definitely going to start doing the show from Melbourne, not the home office, where the internet's rather interesting, let's just say that. So I'm going to be looking forward to doing this sort of thing. So in any case, I'll be taking some calls today and look forward to speaking to you all. I've also had people writing in during the week and saying, look, I want some help starting my gift. I want to help people. I want to work with people, and I don't quite know what to do. By the way, I'm having sleeping tablets and taking lots of alcohol, and things like that, and different sort of analogies of the crisis they may be feeling in while expressing the desire to help other people with crisis. And it's just really important, I think, to look into your own life and make sure that you have saved yourself first before trying to save others, because it's like that old analogy of when someone's drowning at the beach, make sure you can swim before you try helping them. Because if you're both in the beach and you're both drowning, that's now 2 people to save, not 1. So it's really important to start with the very, very basic stuff. And that can seem really boring. And sometimes people can feel that working in this field, it's like the great escape, or I'm doing something more fulfilling, or these sorts of things, which, they're quite reasonable things to look at. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure your own life is balanced before you're trying to help others, which always is a motto or a line of thinking I always bring back to myself, and people working in my field probably should always bring back to themselves is, okay, well, am I balanced? Is my life where it needs to be? In order for me to be, walking my talk, as it were. So another one is interesting, where sometimes people will ring up and want to speak to you at length about their gift. And what I would say is that it's really good to make use of things like this radio show, things like books, all sorts of things like that, rather than, I guess, wanting to speak to a psychic for free for an hour over the phone when perhaps this is what they do full time and they are actually busy in readings. You'll get people who'll get on the phone and they're wanting to develop their gift, but they don't sort of have a concept of time or have a concept of the right way to go about that. So it's just really important for you to think about, well, what's the right way or the best way, the most functional way, the most helpful to me way that I can to maybe get help from that individual that I'm ringing, ask them the questions I want to ask, but maybe do it in a way that is going to be more open to you. And certainly I would say that if you're really valuing the professional opinion of the person you're seeking, it's best to book an appointment with them. If you're wanting to have a long conversation with them, we all have our time, we all have electricity bills to pay, and so it's just really important for those sorts of people just phoning up randomly to a psychic privately to actually think about that. Whereas obviously when you're on the radio show and you're phoning in, that's a whole different thing here. And you've got obviously the ability to phone in. We love hearing from you. So do please keep writing in, calling in, and feeling absolutely welcome to pose your questions, because that's exactly why I do this show, is so that you can do that. It's in time and space that I can allow each week to do that. So just tips and pointers on, if you're looking at developing your gifts or wanting to ask questions of people. That's sort of where I'd go with that. Now, I do have a caller. I've got Lynn in Ontario, London, Ontario in Canada. Are you there, Lynn?
Yes, I am.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for calling in. Very excited, obviously, because I've had all sorts of fun and joy with internet connections this morning. And I would say that connections generally at the moment for people are quite an interesting thing, where you can find that you think you're online with someone, quite literally, not just online, internet-wise, and you can find that it's a bit different to what you thought. So just sort of for everyone listening, just to be aware of that at the moment and over the next few weeks. Certainly Mercury retrograde is not until about the 10th of April. However, I think we've got shades of that at the moment. But in any case, now, Lynn, if I can get your date of birth, I can actually start doing a reading for you. Are you comfortable giving that?
Pardon?
Your date of birth, if I can, and I can do a reading for you.
Okay, September 21st, 1964.
Okay, I've got September 1964. I'm just missing that. I've got 21. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And I do feel that with you, you're very much someone people feel they can talk to, and that's something that people will comment about, I do feel, at different points in your life, and how you sort of helped influence theirs in a good way. And this last year has been one where you've had to really look at how you're listening to yourself more so, and where you're wanting to take things now. A lot of changes going on, and having to be very, I guess, aware of the positive opportunities, but also being aware of where you might need to pull back and not give quite so much of yourself in some ways. I do feel that you are a very loyal friend to have. You're someone people know they can count on, and you have, however, had to really count on yourself a bit more and step back and sort of look after you. That's been an important change here too. And I do feel this year you can be dealing with having to structure things differently towards the end of the year, clearing out the cobwebs, getting things out of the way, and being able to free up energy for new, more positive adventures and projects and things like that as well. But in the meantime, was there a question you wanted me to look at for you?
Just my love life. Is the guy that I'm seeing the right guy for me?
I think that there's a lot of I just keep getting the picture of stepping stones going across the water, and we've got to kind of just take this all in steps and not get too carried away either way. Try not to let things get to you. At times there's some questions there, but I don't feel they're untoward. I do just feel like there's a bit of a kind of a working out process, and we can learn more and more about a person by taking our time with this rather than allowing ourselves to get swept off the feet, if that makes sense to you. And it is just I just feel as if you're not allowing yourself to just be swept away on the excitement of this, thankfully, and you're just taking this one step at a time. And that way there's not going to be any illusion about, I thought he was this way and now I find out he's that way. You're able to see him boots and all, warts and all, as we might say, and then you can sort of decide whether you like those sides of him as well as the rather enjoyable parts, whether you're able to sort of harmonise and integrate that rather than what often people do in relationships. And I think you did this much earlier in your life. I don't think you do this now at all. But what a lot of people out there do is they have 3 stages of relationships, as all people do, but they sort of stay stuck in the first one, which is they idealise the other person, and so therefore the other person, they're perfect, they're wonderful, don't want to see anything about them that's not perhaps what I like, so I'm just going to have this fantasy illusion of them. That's the idealisation stage. And then the second stage is denigration, and that's where, I can't believe they always, they never, it's all these sorts of things. And that's where you see the most of divorces, because suddenly they realise that, in fact, this other person's not perfect. And they're very angry about that because, how could I be wrong about you, and how could you, in fact, actually have, human foibles? And then there's a third stage, which is actually a really great stage to get to. And that's when you go, aha, right, okay. So when they're being selfish, it's just really outlining that I'm not looking after me enough, and I need to say, well, hang on a minute, mate. You can't have all of the apple pie after all. I'm going to have some too. And then when you can do that, the other person then knows what is and isn't acceptable, and there's a give and a take going on, not just a take and a take or a give and a give. And it's a mutual reciprocal thing, but also you can realise and see your own mirror in that person and how brilliantly they might be bringing that to you. So I do feel that you've got the ability to see both of those sides of this person, thankfully, because it does allow you to get a true representation of them rather than building up a gigantic and unlivable, heroic picture of what you think they should be. And you've gone way beyond all of those sorts of lines of thinking. I'm just pointing it out for those listening who maybe haven't gotten to that point, and there's a lot of them out there and they've got this side too, whereas thankfully you're so far beyond that. And I do feel this guy is beyond that too, and that's why I like how this is progressing and how you're taking your time. So although your question is an insight into questioning the relationship, I think at the same time it's actually a positive thing. It's not, you've got doubt, you must leave him. It's not that whole Gordon Ramsay's thing of if in doubt, throw it out. Out of the cooler. It's instead one where you got to go, okay, all right, well, yeah, that really annoys me about them, but here's my annoying habit that probably is about on par. I reckon we're even. I think that you're able to do that here, if that makes sense. Did you have a date? Yeah, and do you have a date of birth of him that you want me to look at?
June 3rd, 1972.
Now, why I'm giggling and being that's rather naughty of me. My astrology teacher would kill me for acting that way after someone saying that. But what it is you've usually Gemini and Virgo are one of those things. It's like green and blue should never go together or something. But at the same time, I think that's that mirroring thing I was saying, where you can see each other's bits. So you'll see the good bits and the not so great bits really quickly here. I do feel that he's had a sufficient knock to his ego in life. Not that people should have to have that, but he has had a sufficient knock to his ego in life to really readjust the way he sees the world. And I do think it's in a much more positive way. And I do feel as well with him that you're able to communicate with each other. There's a lot of healing you're both doing here with each other, if that makes sense, by having this connection. He's incredibly sensitive and has a lot of trouble dealing with that, by the way. And this year is all about him having to break free of past bogged down connections that have really been tiring. So you're actually in the right position for each other at this point in time to really be of benefit in so many ways. So do hang in there for this, enjoy it for what it is, for while it is, and see where it goes, because there's a lot of exchange going in here, and it's really positive, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, it does. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Lynn, and do feel free to connect on the Facebook page for Soul Star Radio as well. And thank you so much for your call there. And certainly when we look at these sorts of things with relationships, you get this sort of pop astrology happening, and you get these very baseline ideas of this sun sign and that sun sign should never go together. And fair enough, might I add, that perhaps Virgo and Gemini is not the easiest thing, but I'm actually in the middle. I'm one sign of which my grandma and my son are the same other sign that just shouldn't go together. They just, according to the way I was taught with astrology. And the thing is that they're actually very educational relationships. So it's not just about the sun sign. There's the moon, there's Venus, there's a whole range of other things, Mars, Pluto. It can all get very exciting in those other places. And you can have someone who, like our callers, partner is Gemini, but they may have a whole bucket load of things in Virgo or Pisces. There's just so many angles here. So never just simplify it too much. The astrology is wheels within more wheels. That's just endless lines of delineation. You could send yourself mad with potentials of what that could mean. So I will just quickly skip across, and have I got Linda there in New York? Are you there, Linda?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Linda. It's lovely to hear from you, and welcome to the show. I do apologise. I've only got a few minutes with you, but you can always connect with me on the Facebook page should you choose at a later time. And I can, if we run out of time, you can just send me a private message on the Soul Star Radio Facebook page, and I will, in this case, answer that for you. If I can get your date of birth, I can certainly start doing a reading for you.
10/20/60.
Brilliant, no worries. So this year is quite big for you. I do think there's a lot of options on the table. We need to be careful about which ones we take. This year is all about being as practical as you can. You can find that what you think you want is not necessarily what you need at first, and through the course of this year you'll get very, very clear on that. And I do feel that doesn't actually mean that it's bad stuff. It just means that you'll find yourself, we might call it pivoting halfway through the year, and taking a bit of a change of direction there. And I do feel that you'll find this year offers you new opportunity to solidify things, and this may mean ripping some things up in order to solidify new things, to establish new foundations, groundwork, all of that sort of thing. So do keep open to changes that may be coming your way, not only to the opportunities coming your way, but also to the way you see them. But the question you actually want me to look at for you today?
A relationship. Is there going to be a new one?
I do feel, I get told now, end of the year, more towards your birthday, month of October. Feels like it may actually be the start of October. I do feel like we're having a bit of an emotional clearing out at the moment still, though, and resetting the priorities, resetting the agenda. There may be a lot going on, more so with the work, money, income, that sort of area first, 2/3 of the year. And then I'm very excited in that month of October, particularly the start of October is where this feels like it starts taking off. I also feel as if you've had to be rather assertive in the past with telling someone they're absolutely not welcome back, and that's taken a lot of strength to be able to be that forthright with that individual, because it's very difficult when individual won't sort of take the hint or won't take what is a very clear message for them to listen to. So I do feel that you won't have worries of the past repeating itself, is what I have to say to you. You will get to bask in a rather new and very enjoyable connection here. This person feels very there's a youthful energy with them. They're not actually much younger than you at all. It's not about that. This is just there's a youthfulness about them, and not in a lack of maturity way. I just feel a vibrancy of energy, a vitality. They may be quite fit. That may be what this is, but I just feel a very vibrant kind of feeling around them. They're positive. They've got energy, and they're not. In some ways leaning wrongly on people, if that makes sense, because it just feels like there's some trepidation in you about, oh gosh, I don't want to have to go through that again, as far as a past relationship here, and I'm relating to the one where it's like you've had to say, look, no, look, really no. That's
I know what you're saying. I get you.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting when you have very sensitive people, and for those listening and sort of going, what on earth are you talking about, Jacqueline? The more sensitive you are, it seems, the more likely you are to get stalkers at some point in your life. And and having stalkers is like fame without the money to pay for security. So it's sort of like, it's a downside of fame without the upside of the money to pay to get rid of these people. So, not get rid of them, move them away. Move back, please. But I do feel that kind of experience, what it does to a sensitive person if they take it on and use that energy, is you actually become incredibly strong with your boundaries, which was the whole thing that was lacking back then, that is so very beautifully clear with you now that I'll tell you what, you're not afraid to just respond in the way you must to very quickly end a situation like that now, whereas in the past it was like, I really don't want to upset them. I think I'll just be nice.
I know. I ain't afraid of that now. I ain't afraid of opening my mouth now.
It's wonderful. I love this approach you've got, but it's just you are a wonderful example of the transformation needed, to kind of deal with this when you're a sensitive person, because sensitive people are often so afraid to upset people that they end up upsetting themselves. And it's just really important to, you're a wonderful example for that. It's just a wonderful analogy to use is your very situation and how you've grown through this whole situation. So for those listening who've got problems getting rid of someone out of their space, just drop by Linda anytime.
It was rough.
Oh, God, yes. But you have mastered yourself. You've mastered yourself since then. So you're a lot clearer on how you deal with people who are just not getting it. And that's something that's really, really important to developing your gifts. For anyone listening, is you must have clear boundaries to work. They don't know, but you've got it now. And as I said, I do think that this year is a year for you to restart, to be able to move through and beyond those sort of past upsets and difficulties. And I don't feel you'll have to keep looking back behind your shoulder. So I'd like to thank you so much there, Linda, for your call. And thank you also for both of our callers today. I do apologise to those I couldn't get to speak to today, because we can sort of move through things rather quickly, and when we've got technical difficulties, it just gets even more interesting. But we're still able to do a wonderful show. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening. And just so that you know, we'll be back next week doing the same thing, taking your calls and opening up the lines for answering your questions. So you can write into the show during the week on the Soulstar Radio website, and also you'll find the links to that through the A1R Psychic Radio website, which broadcasts us each week. And you'll also find us on Moonstruck TV. But for those who are having trouble with your boundaries and with grounding, just do the little things well. Focus on that first. If you're looking to how to develop your gifts and how to be working as a psychic like I do full time, the easiest way to start that is to actually start with, well, what can I do in my daily life that I can keep grounded and feel balanced with? Yoga is really helpful for that, because yoga is all about the union of the mind and the body, bringing those two together. The more grounded you are, actually, the more easily you can develop your gifts. And it's not actually about trying to seek that ethereal, otherworld, almost high feeling. That's a natural a side product or a byproduct of working in this field, but it's actually about being able to ground as well. So the more control you can have on your energy, the more present you can be, the easier it will be for you to be present for someone else while giving a reading. So thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. You can catch me through the AR1R website, as I said, and I'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week to do more. In the meantime, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.